Imagine this. It's, say, 6:45 p.m. And depending on where you are in the world, the sun is just starting to dip below the horizon. You get the incredible sky, deep purples, oranges, that twilight blue. For millions of people around the globe, this exact moment, it's a finish line. I mean, they've gone through a really long, very quiet endurance test. They haven't had a sip of water, not one drop or a single bite of food for maybe 16, maybe even 20 hours.
It really is a profound kind of silence inside the body.
Exactly. And we all know the spiritual significance of Ramadan, right? It's a time for reflection, for community, for faith. But I want to just pause the spiritual aspect for a moment and look at the physical one. Have you ever really stopped to wonder what is actually happening biologically inside a person during those hours? Because I think we just assume it's paused.
Paused. Yes, that's a very, very common way to think about it. People assume fasting is just the absence of activity. I stopped eating, so my digestion stopped, so nothing is happening.
Right. My stomach is empty, so I'm just waiting around for dinner.
But from a biological standpoint, it's the complete opposite. When the external intake stops, the internal machinery really kicks into overdrive. It's not a pause, it's a full-on metabolic transformation.
That's exactly what we're doing today. We are going under the hood. We want to know, is it just hunger? Is it my stomach just yelling at me because it's bored? Or is there some kind of metabolic magic trick happening? And to help us answer this, I am so thrilled to be joined by a true expert. He is a technologist, a chartered biologist of the UK's Royal Society of Biology, and a senior lecturer at Tun Hussein on University Malaysia, or UTHM. Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And I really like that phrase, under the hood, because Ramadan is unique. It's not just about, restricting calories. It's about the timing. It's about the body's incredible ability to switch gears when resources run low.
Switching gears, that is our mission for this deep dive. We want to move beyond that simple idea of don't eat and get into the real evidence-based insights. We've got a stack of research papers, clinical studies, and lecture notes here, and we are going to explore the theme. What happens to your body after 16-20 hours of fasting? So let's start at the beginning, or I guess at the moment the food stops. Dawn.
Yes, ideally. After Sahur, the pre-dawn meal.
Right. You eat your meal, the sun comes up, and you stop eating. For the first few hours, say 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., we're basically running as normal, aren't we? I mean, I usually feel totally fine until about lunchtime.
Correct. For the first, 4 to 6 hours, you're in what we call the fed state, or the post-absorptive state. Your body is busy, you've just put fuel in the tank, your insulin levels are high, and your body's just breaking down that meal into glucose. Life is good, the brain is very happy, because it has a steady stream of sugar.
Okay, so that's the easy part. That's cruise control. But then we hit the afternoon, 2 p.m., 3 p.m., the slump, the time of day where I usually start wandering towards a vending machine.
The slump, right. This is where the biology starts to get really interesting. To understand this, we have to look at how we store fuel. You see, the body stores glucose in the liver. And you can think of the liver as like your checking account. It's your cash on hand. It's called glycogen. Very easy to access. You need energy to type an email. You just withdraw from the liver. You need to walk to the car, withdraw from the liver.
But checking accounts have a limit. I know mine does.
Precisely. The liver isn't some giant vault. It's more like a wallet. It holds maybe 100 to 120 grams of glycogen. That's only about 400 to 500 calories of quick energy.
Wait a minute, only 500 calories? That's what, a muffin and a half? That is all the backup energy I have on immediate standby.
A muffin and a half,
yeah.
Exactly. So as the day goes on, you are just burning through that cash. By the time you hit hour 10, maybe hour 12, which in Ramadan is usually late afternoon, that checking account is blinking zero. The tank is empty.
And this is the moment everyone dreads. The hangry phase, the headache, the irritability.
Yes. Because the brain senses the drop in glucose. Your brain is a glucose hog. It uses roughly 20% of your total energy. So when that easy sugar runs out, the brain sends a bit of a panic signal. Feed me. This is where you get irritable, maybe a slight headache starts, you lose focus. The body is screaming at you to refill the checking account.
So that feeling, that 4 p.m., I need a snack or I'm going to snap at my coworker feeling, that's literally just my brain realizing the checking account is empty.
It's the friction of the transition. We call it the metabolic switch. But it's not an instant flip, like a light switch. It's more mechanical. Imagine a hybrid car.
Okay, I'm picturing a Prius. Or maybe something a bit sportier, since we're diving deep here.
A biological hybrid sports car, why not? Most of the time, we run on the gas engine. That's glucose. But when the gas tank runs dry, the car doesn't just stop dead on the side of the road. It has a backup system. It has a battery.
And in this analogy, the battery is our fat stores.
Exactly. Adipose tissue. Even a very lean person has tens of thousands of calories stored as fat. It's a massive, massive battery. But, and this is the catch, the body really hates to use it if it doesn't have to. It's harder to access. It's like keeping your money in a fixed deposit account. You can't just swipe a card. You have to go to the bank, fill out the paperwork, convert it.
So the headache I get, that's the paperwork.
That is the paperwork. That's the liver struggling to shift all its enzymatic machinery from a sugar-burning mode to a fat-mobilizing mode. We call it the G to K switch, glucose to ketones. And this usually happens right in that Ramadan sweet spot between 12 and 16 hours.
Okay, let's unpack ketones, because I hear that word thrown around everywhere in diet culture. Keto diets, ketone strips, all of it. But biologically, what is a ketone? Is it just melted fat?
Not exactly, no. When the liver runs out of glycogen, it starts breaking down fatty acids. But the brain can't use fatty acids directly. They're too big to cross the blood-brain barrier. So the liver very cleverly chops these fats up into smaller, water-soluble molecules called ketone bodies, specifically acetoacetate and beta-hydroxybutyrate.
Beta-hydroxybutyrate. Okay, that is a mouthful.
It's a mouthful, but it is a superfuel. Once the liver starts pumping these out, they travel to the brain, to the muscles. And this is the critical point. Ketones are actually a more efficient fuel than glucose.
More efficient? Then why don't we just run on them all the time?
Because glucose is easier. Biology always follows the path of least resistance. But when you force the switch, like you do during Ramadan, you are essentially forcing the body to upgrade its fuel source. And this is why, after that initial hangry slump, people so often report a second wind.
Yes, I've heard this constantly. People say right before iftar, right before they break the fast, they actually feel surprisingly sharp. They expect to be exhausted, but they feel clear.
That is the ketones hitting the brain.
Okay, so let's dive into the brain. Because logically, you'd think, I haven't eaten, I should be foggy, I should be slow.
You would think so. But evolutionarily, that would be a complete disaster.
How so?
Well, imagine you're a hunter-gatherer 10,000 years ago. You haven't eaten in 2 days. You're starving. If your brain became foggy and slow, what are the chances you could catch prey or find food?
0. I'd probably get eaten by something else.
Precisely. Nature designed us so that when we are hungry, our senses sharpen, our focus narrows. We become better hunters. And ketones are the driver behind this. When beta-hydroxybutyrate reaches the brain, it triggers the release of a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
BDNF? I think I've heard this called miracle grow for the brain. Is that just marketing hype or is it accurate?
It's a very accurate analogy, actually. BDNF supports the survival of your existing neurons, but it also encourages the growth of new synapses, new neurons. It improves neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to adapt and learn.
So by fasting, we are literally dosing our brains with fertilizer.
In a way, yes. We're creating a chemical environment that favors cognitive clarity. This is why that brain fog lifts. And there's another benefit. Once you're in ketosis, the hunger signals, specifically the hormone ghrelin, they actually start to go down.
That is the most counterintuitive part of this whole thing. You'd think hunger is just a straight line. The longer I go, the hungrier I get. But you're saying it peaks and then it actually drops off.
It definitely comes in waves. But yes, once that metabolic switch is fully flipped, usually after that 14 to 16 hour mark, the intense craving often subsides. The body says, okay, we're on the battery now. We have plenty of fuel. Stop screaming for snacks.
That explains so much. It explains why the last hour of the fast can feel easier than the middle hours. The body's just accepted the new reality.
It is adapted. And that adaptation is where the deep health benefits really begin.
Okay, let's do a quick micro recap here because that was a lot. We start with the fed state, easy sugar. Then we hit the transition around hour 12. That's the slump, the headache, the liver doing its paperwork. And then we enter the ketosis zone, burning fat, fueling the brain with superfuel, and boosting that miracle grow BDNF.
A perfect summary.
But energy is one thing. Energy just keeps the lights on. What I find so fascinating in the research you shared is this idea of repair. You mentioned a cleanup crew.
Yes. This is, in my opinion, the most compelling biological reason to fast.
Oh.
We're talking about autophagy.
Autophagy, it sounds a bit like a horror movie title, the self-eating.
It does translate literally from Greek as self-eating. Auto for self, phagy for eating. But don't think of it as cannibalism. Think of it as recycling. Or even better, a deep clean.
A deep clean. Okay, I like that.
Let's go back to our factory analogy. Imagine your body is a busy manufacturing plant. When you're constantly eating breakfast, snack, lunch, another snack, dinner, that factory is in production mode. The foreman is just yelling, build, build, build. New cells, new proteins storing fat.
That's the fed state again.
Correct. And in biology, this production mode is controlled by a pathway called mTOR. Just remember, mTOR means growth. As long as you have insulin in your blood from eating, mTOR is active. The factory is running at 100% capacity.
Okay, but if a factory runs at 100%, 247, things are going to break down, right?
Exactly. The floors get dirty, waste starts to accumulate in the corners, machines get rusty, misfolded proteins, which are basically biological junk, they start to pile up inside the cells. If you never stop production, you never have time for maintenance.
And in the human body, what does that junk actually look like?
It looks like aging. It looks like cellular dysfunction. The accumulation of these protein aggregates is linked to things like Alzheimer's, to Parkinson's, to various forms of cellular decline.
So how do we get the janitors in there to clean up?
You have to stop production. You have to shut the factory down for a while. When you fast for Ramadan, specifically when you get past that 14, 15, 16-hour mark, insulin drops to rock bottom. mTOR goes to sleep. And suddenly, a different pathway wakes up. AMPK.
AMPK, so that's the janitor.
It's the master regulator. AMPK is the energy sensor. It looks around and says, hey, there's no energy coming in. We need fuel. Let's start looking for the trash. The cell literally starts hunting down old, damaged parts, dysfunctional mitochondria, broken proteins, and it wraps them up in these little bags called lysosomes.
And it eats them.
It dissolves them. It breaks them down into their raw materials, amino acids, which can then be recycled and reused. It's so elegant. It cleans the cell and creates energy at the same time.
That is incredible. So by temporarily starving ourselves, we're actually telling our bodies to take out their own trash.
We are resetting them. And this is why the duration of a Ramadan fast is so perfect. If you just skip breakfast and ate at noon, that's a 12-hour fast. You might just barely be touching the edge of autophagy. It's a slow starter. But by pushing to 16, 17, 18 hours, you're allowing that deep cleaning process to really ramp up before you break your fast.
It's like if you only give the janitors 10 minutes, they can empty the trash cans. But if you give them 6 hours, they can wax the floors and fix the broken windows.
That is the perfect analogy. And that's why this type of fasting is functionally different from just calorie restriction. It is the timing that unlocks the repair.
I want to talk more about the hormones that orchestrate all this. You mentioned insulin, but in the notes I see something about IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor. What is that and why should we care?
So IGF-1 is a growth hormone. It's structurally very similar to insulin. In childhood, of course, you need it to grow. But in adulthood, constantly high levels of IGF-1 are often linked to accelerated aging and increased cancer risk.
Yikes. So we don't want high levels of that all the time.
No, we want balance. When you fast, IGF-1 levels drop significantly. This sends a signal to your cells. Don't divide right now. Protect yourself. It shifts them from a growth state to a maintenance state. It increases what we call stress resistance.
So the cells basically put up their shields.
Yes. They become tougher. They become more resilient to things like oxidative stress and DNA damage.
But I have to play devil's advocate here. I know a lot of people listening, especially the gym goers, are hearing low growth factor, no food, and they are panicking. They're thinking, I'm going to lose all my muscle, my biceps are going to dissolve.
This is the most common myth we encounter, that fasting eats your muscle.
It does.
No. Biology is much smarter than that. Think about it. If our hunter-gatherer ancestor lost his muscle every time he missed a meal, he'd get weaker and weaker, and he would never catch his next prey. The species would have died out.
So what's stopping the muscle loss?
Growth hormone. Human growth hormone, or HGH.
Wait, I thought we just said growth factors go down?
IGF-1 goes down. But HGH, which is produced in the pituitary gland, it actually spikes during a fast. I mean, sometimes by 200 or even 300%.
That seems contradictory. Why would growth hormones spike if we aren't eating?
Because in this context, HGH isn't for growing new tissue. It's for protecting the tissue you already have. It sends a metabolic signal that says, burn the fat, but spare the protein. It mobilizes fatty acids from your fat stores to be used as fuel, specifically to prevent the body from breaking down your muscle.
So it's a muscle preservation shield.
Exactly. We call ketosis protein sparing. Now, unless you're in true starvation for days or weeks, your body will aggressively protect your muscle mass. You're not going to wither away during a 16-hour fast. In fact, that spike in growth hormone might even help you recover faster once you do start eating again.
That is a huge relief. So we've got the cleanup crew with autophagy, we've got the brain fertilizer, BDNF, and we've got the muscle shield from growth hormone. It really is a sophisticated system.
It's a symphony of hormones, really.
Before we move on to the heart and the gut, which are huge, I do want to take a brief interlude here. We've been talking a lot about the science of biology, but science doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens in labs, universities, and through research.
It does. And we are always looking for the next generation of curious minds to help us push this understanding further.
Right now, there's a unique opportunity for those of you listening who might be inspired by this. If you have a background or an interest in biotechnology or biomaterials, there are actually doors opening.
Yes, specifically under my supervision and with my brilliant colleagues at Tun Hussein on University of Malaysia, UTHM, we're doing extensive work in biotechnology, especially involving the use of plant material for potential medicinal purposes.
And here's the part that I think is really cool. You don't necessarily have to uproot your entire life and move across the world.
That's right. We understand the modern world. The data collection and analysis can often be conducted right in your home country or at your local research institution. We offer a lot of flexibility.
So if you're sitting there thinking, I want to study how plants can help these metabolic processes, or I want to understand biomaterials better, this is your call to action.
We truly believe that science is global. If you're passionate about understanding nature, about biomaterials, about how biology can solve problems, we want to hear from you. It's a chance to contribute to the kind of evidence-based knowledge we're sharing today.
Absolutely. We will remind you about this again at the end, but keep that in mind. UTHM, biotechnology. Now let's get back to the body. Let's talk about the heart. We know Ramadan changes our sleep and eating, but what does the data really say about cardiovascular health?
The clinical data is quite promising. When we look at studies on intermittent fasting, and Ramadan fasting specifically, we see a very consistent trend, an improvement in cardiovascular markers.
Things like blood pressure.
Yes. We often see a reduction in both systolic, that's the top number, and diastolic, the bottom number, blood pressure.
Is that just because people are calmer? Or is there something physiological going on?
Oh, it's physiological. When insulin drops, the kidneys excrete more sodium and water. This reduces blood volume slightly, which in turn lowers pressure. Also, fasting activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system, which helps relax blood vessels.
And what about cholesterol, the lipid profile?
This is where we see the cleaning of the pipes, so to speak. Studies show a reduction in triglycerides and LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol. But maybe more importantly, we see a reduction in visceral fat.
Visceral fat, that's the scary fat, right? The stuff that wraps around our organs.
That's the one. There are two main types of fat. You have subcutaneous fat, which is the stuff you can pinch on your arm. It's mostly cosmetic, annoying, but not necessarily deadly. Visceral fat is different. It sits deep in the abdomen, surrounding the liver, the pancreas, the intestines.
And why is that one so much worse?
Because it's biologically active. It almost acts like an organ itself. It pumps out these inflammatory chemicals called cytokines. It messes with your hormones. It's a primary driver of insulin resistance. Visceral fat is the enemy of longevity.
And fasting targets this specifically.
Aggressive.
Why? Why does the body burn the belly fat first?
Because visceral fat is so metabolically active. It has a high turnover rate. So when that metabolic switch flips and the body needs energy fast, it pulls from these active stores first. This is why we often see a big improvement in the fatty liver index during Ramadan. The liver literally sheds its excess fat.
That is huge, especially considering how common fatty liver disease is becoming with our modern diets.
It is an epidemic, and fasting is a very powerful non-pharmaceutical intervention for it.
Okay, so micro recap number 2. We've covered the cellular deep clean, autophagy. We've looked at the hormonal balance with insulin dropping and growth hormone rising to protect muscle. And now we've seen how this leads to tangible physical changes, lower blood pressure, better cholesterol, and a specific attack on that dangerous belly fat.
It's a comprehensive system upgrade.
But we can't talk about the body without talking about the inner garden, the gut.
The microbiome, my favorite topic.
I feel like every week we learn something new about how important our gut bacteria are. They seem to control our mood, our immunity, even what we crave. What happens to these trillions of little guys when we stop sending food down for 16 hours?
They change, and they change quite rapidly. You have to understand, your gut is a battlefield. There are good bacteria, we call them commensals, and there are opportunistic, let's say, bad bacteria.
And I'm going to guess the bad ones are the ones that crave donuts.
You would guess correctly. Many of these pathogenic bacteria thrive on sugar and simple carbohydrates. They need a constant stream of easy fuel to reproduce. When you're snacking every 2 hours, you are constantly feeding the enemy.
So what happens during the fast?
Starvation of the wicked. When you cut off the food supply for 16 hours, the bacteria that rely on that constant sugar, they start to die off. Their numbers dwindle.
So we are literally weeding the garden.
Exactly. You stop watering the weeds. But the beneficial bacteria, specifically families like Bacteroidetes and Akkermansia, they're more resilient. Some of them can actually survive by feeding on the mucus lining of the gut in a healthy way, which in turn stimulates the gut to produce a new, fresher lining.
So the good guys get stronger while the bad guys die off.
Yes. The research shows a decrease in certain families, like Lactospiraceae, and an increase in others, like Bacteroidetes. Now, the taxonomy isn't important, but the functional result is this shift is strongly associated with reduced systemic inflammation.
Reduced inflammation. This connects right back to what we were saying about the visceral fat.
Everything is connected. The gut is the source of so much of the body's inflammation. If you have what's called a leaky gut, where the barrier is compromised, bacterial toxins can leak into your bloodstream. This causes your immune system to, well, freak out. It attacks everything. This is where people get joint pain, brain fog, fatigue.
And fasting helps seal that barrier.
It gives the gut epithelium time to regenerate. It tightens the junctions. By reducing the bacterial load and giving the lining a break, you lower the inflammation fire in the entire body. It's why people with autoimmune conditions sometimes report feeling significantly better during Ramadan.
It's just wild to think that my knee pain could actually be related to what's happening or not happening in my stomach.
Biology does not work in silos. The gut affects the brain affects the heart affects the liver. Fasting is a reset button for the whole network.
It's amazing, but we have to talk about the most critical moment of the day. The moment the sun goes down, the call to prayer, iftar.
The breaking of the fast, this is the danger zone.
The danger zone.
Yeah.
But it's the best part. It's the reward.
It's the best part socially and spiritually, yes. The community, the family, the food. But biologically, it is a very delicate moment. We call this the reverse switch, the ketogen switch, ketone back to glucose.
So we're switching the hybrid car back to gas.
Yes, but imagine pouring gasoline into the tank at high pressure while the engine is still hot.
That sounds dangerous.
If you break your fast with a massive amount of processed sugar soda, deep-fried sweets, heavy refined carbs, you create what we call a violent insulin spike.
Violent, that's a strong word.
It is physiologically dramatic. Your cells have been resting. They become super sensitive to insulin, which is a good thing. But if you flood them with a tsunami of sugar, insulin just shoots up to the sky.
And what does that do to all the good work we've just spent the last 20 minutes talking about?
It stops it immediately. That entire process of autophagy stopped. Fat burning stopped. Growth hormone secretion suppressed.
It just stops dead in its tracks.
Yes. And not only that, but the sudden overload can cause oxidative stress. It's what we call refeeding stress. The health benefits of the 16-hour fast depend so heavily on the quality of the refeeding window.
So the fast doesn't end when you eat. The biological benefit is determined by what you eat.
Precisely. If you eat nutrient-dense foods, proteins, fibers, healthy fats, complex carbs, you are providing the building blocks for the new cells. If you eat junk, you're building your new house with crumbling bricks.
I love that metaphor. We've spent the whole day demolishing the old broken parts of the house with autophagy. Now, at iftar, the construction trucks arrive. You don't want them dumping trash. You want them dumping marble and steel.
Exactly. Marble and steel. Dates, water, fruits, soups, proteins. A gentle reintroduction.
Now, before we wrap up, we have to address safety. We've painted a very positive picture, but biology varies. Are there people who should be careful with this?
Absolutely. Safety is paramount. While fasting is beneficial for the healthy majority, there are groups who must be extremely careful.
Who are they?
The elderly, for instance, who might be frail or prone to dehydration. If you're already struggling to maintain weight, fasting might not be appropriate. People with a very low BMI, if you don't have the fat reserves, you don't have that battery backup we talked about. You can't run a hybrid car if there's no battery.
And what about diabetics?
Diabetics are a special category. Because they're often on medication to lower blood sugar, fasting can push them into hypoglycemia, dangerously low blood sugar. This requires strict professional medical supervision.
So this isn't a one-size-fits-all prescription.
Not at all. If you have a medical condition, if you're pregnant or nursing, you must consult your doctor. We're talking about general physiology here, not individual medical advice.
A very important disclaimer, always check with the pros.
Indeed.
So, as we begin to wrap up this deep dive, let's try to synthesize all of this. We've gone from the metabolic switch to brain fertilizer, from cellular cleanup crews to weeding the gut garden. If there's one thing you want our listeners to walk away with, one piece of actionable advice for this Ramadan, what would it be?
I would say, respect the biology of the pause. Don't overcompensate at night. There's this tendency to think, I haven't eaten all day, so I must eat double now. That is incorrect. Your body has spent the day performing a cellular reconstruction. Support that reconstruction.
So quality over quantity.
Yes. Hydrate well. Eat whole foods. Think of iftar not just as a meal, but as the materials you are providing for the renovation project that happened during the day. Give your body the respect it deserves.
Materials for the renovation project. That really changes the mindset, doesn't it? From deprivation to restoration. It's not about what you're losing, it's about what you're building.
That is the key. It is restoration.
And for those of you whose curiosity has really been sparked by the science we've discussed, maybe you're thinking, I want to do the research that proves this, or I want to work with the team uncovering these insights. Remember that invitation.
Yes, we are welcoming researchers for master and PhD studies at UTHM in Malaysia. Whether you're in Malaysia or halfway across the world, we can facilitate your data collection and analysis. It's a wonderful time to be in biotechnology.
It certainly is. And getting to work with someone who can explain autophagy so clearly sounds like a great opportunity. I want to express my utmost gratitude to you. Thank you for your enlightenment, your patience, and your invaluable insights into what's happening inside all of us. You've really made the invisible visible today.
Thank you. It was a privilege to share this knowledge. I hope everyone listening has a safe, healthy, and biologically restorative Ramadan.
A restorative Ramadan indeed. And to you, listening right now, think about this as you go about your day. When that 4 p.m. hunger hits, don't just be annoyed by it. Visualize the switch. Visualize that cleanup crew. Your body has this innate, incredible ability to heal itself. Sometimes it just needs us to get out of the way and give it a break. It turns out doing nothing fasting is actually doing a whole lot of something. Until next time, stay curious and keep diving deep. I have to admit, my brain is it's officially full. It's fascinating, but wow, it is heavy stuff.
For sure. And it is a lot to digest. We covered some really complex ground today, but we actually came up with a little something to help with that. We created a free PDF e-poster that sort of visually summarizes the key points we went over.
Oh, like a cheat sheet.
That's it, yeah. A cheat sheet for all the pathways and ideas.
I love that. A visual guide.
Precisely. So if you want to get it, all you have to do is just check the video description. You'll see an email address there. Just drop us a line to join the mailing list.
And you'll send it over.
And we'll send that poster directly to your inbox.
That is actually a huge help for reviewing this stuff. And it's, what, completely free?
Absolutely free.
Perfect. Well, there you have it. Go check the description, grab that poster, and we will see you in the next deep dive.